Once upon a time, a young man by the name of Shigeru Miyamoto decided to create a character for one of his video games. Little did he know when he created this character that it would become Nintendo's mascot and would still be more than 25 years later. In September of 2010, Mario celebrated his 25th anniversary. Who would have known that even today Mario would still be part of our gaming lives? Welcome to the Super Mario Retrospective. A long time ago, games looked and sounded like this. And it was amazing back then. You'd think that Mario's first appearance was in Super Mario Bros. Actually, Mario appeared in a few other titles before this. I know this is called the Super Mario Retrospective, but I'm gonna quickly cover some titles before Mario became all super and stuff. In 1981, Nintendo tried to enter the American arcade market with different video games. The last and successful attempt was a title named Donkey Kong. Shigeru Miyamoto liked the movie King Kong so much that he decided to create a game based on this character. This is how Donkey Kong was born. In this arcade classic, you take the role of Mario, which at the time was named Jumpman, in a quest to climb ladders and rescue the damsel in distress, Pauline. This game featured 4 different stages, the last stage having Jumpman removing rivets in order to make the stage crash on Donkey Kong and save Pauline. As with most arcade titles, once that was done, the game would restart and the goal was to get the most amount of points. Donkey Kong received a sequel named Donkey Kong Jr., where Jumpman would kidnap Donkey Kong and it was up to Jr. to save his daddy. Once again, this game is split into 4 different stages, the last stage having Jr. pushing keys to unlock DK from his cage. This is the first time that Mario, or Jumpman, was depicted as a bad guy. Mario Bros. Is an arcade game released in 1983 and is considered to be the starting point for the entire Mario Bros. Series, although I feel Super Mario Bros. Is the real starter. In this game, Mario and his brother Luigi must work together to defeat waves of enemies coming to defeat them. Once the player kills an enemy, he receives a coin that he has to collect. Just like a lot of arcade games, there is no ending to this game and the goal is to get the most amount of points. Now, this is the starting point for Mario as we know him today. This is the first game that would define every side-scroller games in existence. Super Mario Bros. Takes place in the Mushroom Kingdom as you control Mario in his quest to defeat the evil King Koopa and save the land. You will have to travel through 8 worlds, each having 4 stages, some on land, some in water, some underground, and others in Bowser's castle. This adventure was crazy back then. Nowadays, we have people completing it in about 5 minutes, which is crazy when you consider people spent countless hours trying to complete it back then. Super Mario Bros. Sold about 40 million copies, excluding the countless remakes on SNES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and the Virtual Console, which makes it the best-selling Mario game and the second best-selling game in existence. This game received 2 different sequels, which confused many people back then and still does today. Let's take a look at both versions of Super Mario Bros. 2, starting with the one we're the most familiar with. Here in America, we received this version of Super Mario 2. In this one, you can choose between 4 characters, each having their own abilities. Mario is the normal jumper, Princess Toadstool can glide, Luigi can jump and float higher, and Toad is running fast, I guess. As opposed to Super Mario Bros., in this game, you don't jump on top of enemies to defeat them. Instead, you have to pull out vegetables from the ground and throw them at enemies. This was a real departure from the original Super Mario, and many people find it kind of weird. Heck, the enemies are not even Goombas or Koopas, and there's not even King Koopa in it. Instead, the enemy here is Wart, some green frog monster thingy. This game introduced new enemies that were kept in later games, such as Shy Guys, Bob-ombs, and it was the first game to feature the pink character Birdo. The reason why this game is so different from other Mario titles is because it's not the real Super Mario 2, but another completely different game. Well, if that's a fake, what is the real version of Mario 2 then? In Japan, they received a totally different version of Super Mario 2. This one is more like the original Super Mario. Well, you eat mushrooms, you collect coins, you have fireballs, you stomp enemies to defeat them, you jump on a flagpole to finish a level. Hell, this is the type of Mario game we're all familiar with! This sequel features 8 more worlds and adds a new power-up, which is the poison mushroom. And if you collect this mushroom, you will get hurt, so you want to avoid it at all costs. Once again, the evil guy is King Koopa. Super Mario 2 is a single-player game, which is kind of weird considering the previous one had a 2-player mode. However, you can play as either Mario and Luigi when you start the game. Now you might wonder, if this is the real Super Mario 2, then what is this? Well, let's take a look at this little Japanese game named Doki Doki Panic. Does it look familiar? Yes, it does, because this is a game released on the Famicom Disk System, some sort of add-on for the Famicom, and Famicom is the NES in Japan, if you didn't know. Anyways, after Nintendo concluded that the Japanese version of Super Mario 2 was way too hard for us stupid Americans, they decided to take Doki Doki Panic and then replace everything with Mario characters, and then label it Super Mario 2. Crazy, isn't it? Well, at least they didn't have to do this with the next game in the franchise. The next installment in the franchise would be released here in America in 1990. Once again, it features Mario and Luigi and would return to a much more classic formula. The enemy here is King Koopa. He captures Princess Toadstool, and it's up to Mario and Luigi to rescue her. Instead of going from levels to levels, you now have access to a world map where you can choose where to go, which is a first in the series. The game also introduced different new power-ups, such as the leaf and the frog suit. In this game, Mario has the ability to fly up in the air by running fast enough to fill up the power meter. Once again, you had to travel through 8 different worlds, each featuring a different theme, such as a grass world, a desert world, an ice world, a world where everything is giant, and even more. Instead of fighting Bowser at the end of every world, you had to defeat a Koopa Kid to retrieve his magic wand and return the King of the Land back to its original state. The final boss, however, was Bowser. This game received a lot of acclaims and is regarded as one of the best games ever. It was hard to imagine how Nintendo could top a game like Super Mario 3, and yet they did. In 1991, in North America, Nintendo released its brand new console, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and they included a packaged-in title. This title was Super Mario World. It is the 4th installment in the Super Mario Bros. Series and introduced brand new elements once again. It is the first time Mario would get to ride Yoshi the Green Dinosaur. Yoshi can eat enemies, spit fireballs, fly up in the air, and stomp the ground. Once again, the princess goes missing, and it's all up to Mario and Luigi to rescue her. Original, eh? This game features a brand new item, the Yellow Cape, which gives Mario the ability to fly and glide up in the air. However, most of the new power-ups that were introduced in Super Mario 3 did not make a return. There is a total of 7 worlds where Mario and Luigi will have to travel. It is the first time that levels will have several hidden exits that could lead into Star World, which, if completed, would give Mario access to a special world. Most levels in the special world are really challenging. And once again, this game features a 2-player mode, where players take turns completing levels. The game was very well received by players and critics and contributed to the success of the Super Nintendo. The next installment in the Super Mario series would be very different from what players were used to. In October of 1995, Nintendo released Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. Despite being named Super Mario World 2, it is not a sequel to the previous title. It actually is a prequel to any Mario game in existence. When the game begins, we see a stork carrying 2 babies, Mario and Luigi. The stork gets hit and drops the 2 babies to the ground. Mario is discovered by a group of Yoshis that will travel through 6 worlds to defeat the evil baby Bowser and rescue baby Luigi. The gameplay took a drastic change as Yoshi cannot die. Instead, when he gets hit, baby Mario turns into a bubble and you have a time limit to get him back before the enemies capture him for good. The art style was also a dramatic departure from what we were used to see from a Mario game. In Yoshi's Island, everything looks like it comes right out of a drawing book for kids. Yoshi has a lot of new moves he can perform to defeat his enemies. He can swallow them and turn them into eggs, and then use those eggs to defeat other enemies. Yoshi can now flutter jump, which would become a standard in most recent Mario games featuring Yoshi. By pressing down when you are up in the air, Yoshi will ground pound, and this move will be used to defeat larger enemies. This game features way more collectible items than Mario World. In each stages, you have to collect big flowers and red coins, as well as having 30 seconds in your Baby Mario bubble timer. If you manage to complete all of this, well, you get a perfect mark in that stage. Get a perfect mark in every stages in a world, and then you will unlock a special harder level as well as a minigame level. This game was very well received and eventually got remade for the Game Boy Advance. The next installment would mark a brand new departure in the Super Mario Bros. Series. Join me next time as we will take a look at Mario's first steps into the third dimension.